Washington Pod presents EARL Nightingale.
Poking about in my library, I ran across a true story, that I'd enjoyed reading many years ago. It was written by Merle Crowell. It seems that a certain Greenland Eskimo was taken on one of the American North Polar expeditions. Later, as a reward for faithful service, he was brought to New York City for a short visit. He was filled with wonder at all the miracles of sight and sound, and when he returned to his native village, he told stories of buildings that rose into the very face of the sky, of streetcars which he described as houses that moved along the trail, with people living in them as they moved, of mammoth bridges, artificial lights, and all the other dazzling concomitants of the great metropolis. His people looked at him coldly and walked away, and forthwith, throughout his village, he was dubbed Sagluck, meaning the liar, and this name he carried in great shame to his grave. Long before his death, his original name was entirely forgotten in his village. When Knut Rasmussen made his trip from Greenland to Alaska, he was accompanied by an Eskimo named Mitek, which means, if I haven't completely forgotten my Eskimo language, eider duck. Mitek visited Copenhagen and New York, where he saw many things for the first time and was duly impressed. Later, upon his return to Greenland, he recalled the tragedy of Sagluck and decided that it would not be wise to tell the truth. Instead, he would narrate stories that his people could grasp and thus save his reputation. So he told them how he and Dr. Rasmussen maintained a kayak on the banks of a great river, the Hudson, and how each morning they paddled out for their hunting. Ducks, geese, and seals were to be had aplenty, and they enjoyed their visit immensely. Mitek, in the eyes of his countrymen, is a very honest man. His neighbors treat him with rare respect. The road of the teller of new truths has always been rocky. Socrates died after having to drink the hemlock. Christ was crucified. Stephen stoned. Bruno burned at the stake. Galileo terrified into retraction of his solar truths. Forever could one follow that bloody trail through the pages of history. Too many of us resent the impact of new ideas and look with suspicion on whoever imparts the ideas to us. We hate to be disturbed in the beliefs and prejudices that have been handed down with the family silverware. At maturity, we seek the sterile comfort of mental hibernation and live off the fat of ancient fetishes. If a new idea invades our den, we rise up snarling from our winter sleep. The Greenland Eskimos were unable to grasp the startling picture drawn by Sagluck, but there is no adequate reason why the average man or woman in our society should ever close his or her mind to fresh slants on life. That's isolationism in its most tragic and primitive form. An old farmer up in Vermont used to wind up his prayers with this plea: "Oh, God, give me an open mind." If more people followed his example, they might escape being hamstrung by prejudices, and what a pleasant place the world would be to live in.